Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and you are, this along, T this along. Your name looks familiar, except it says you're a first-time chatter. Hello, happy Tuesday. Tuesday to you. I hope you're doing well. I hope it's a fantastic Tuesday for you. I've been busy just trying to keep myself apprised of how everything works or something. Anyway, we're going to jump right in because yesterday I spent just about the whole, well, not even just about, I spent the whole time working on the bot, and I don't want to do that today. Instead, we're going to hop into what we left off with on Friday. And so what we did was we wrote a test here with a whole bunch of mocking and setup and stuff like that. Fright says, did you meet in past programming rockstar in work? Huh? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I think you were... Whoa. Whoa, have you said that before? I'm getting extreme deja vu. Okay, so what we are trying to do is get this test to pass. So it should currently pass, except that we didn't mock commit. So I don't exactly know what's going to happen. My mentor is programming rockstar.net, C#, Angular, TypeScript. I don't know what RxJS is. DevOps, Docker, Azure. And then you put a question mark after that. It looked like a statement. Well, it's because we aren't using the context yet. Yeah, so the whole reason that I think I put the context outside of the try catch, by the way, is because I need it to persist after. Otherwise, it would explode. Okay. I need the context to persist for the transaction. So I assign it out here so that if an exception happens in here, the transaction down here does not explode as well. But yeah, hello Disco. Konnichiwa. Happy Tuesday. Today is the 20th, I believe. 20th of September. In case you aren't really aware of the day, which I'm usually not. But that's okay. Okay. So we started implementing this. We do have some error handling, and we're gonna go ahead and see what happens if we try running this test. I am just curious. So let's run it. The test explorer showed up, and we're somewhere way down here. Cool. All right, so I forgot that we were also expecting add to be called. To be called. What language is that? It's almost Klingon. Not really. So what we need to do is transform the data entry model into the thing that needs to be added into the database. So I wonder if there's a way for me to keep the casted version of this. I don't think so. All right, brain. You're trying to be too clever. Don't be too clever. Calm down. Slow down. I'm thinking maybe we really should have. Well, yeah, okay. I did call this a deposit transaction service, even though this is a transaction service of T data entry view model. I think I was intending to go ahead and make. Wait, those are the tests. So this class is still probably a transaction entry service. Never mind. I was thinking I was going to make a separate service for each of the transaction types, one for deposit, one for payment, and one for transfer, but I didn't. So here's how we're going to validate the model. We're going to go switch data entry. No. Maybe. I think it's like this. So we're switching on the data entry view model that gets passed in. And this is what I was going to type. I promise I was going to type this. So I was going to cast directly to the specific type. And it's not exactly what I was going to type, because the only thing that I wanted to do here is validate withdrawal. And this is a payment entry view model. Payment entry. Okay. We don't want to do it this way. Or do we? I mean, if I want it to be a single unit of work, then yes. The problem, I don't mind this approach. I kind of like it because we're moving all of the logic for doing the add for each type into its own method. But it'd be a lot of repeated code. So now I have two warring best practices. One is to minimize the amount of code in a single method. And the other is to not repeat code. So all of this stuff here would be the same, for example. And yeah, and the only thing that I want to do here is validate the deposit entry view. And I forgot that I was going to use Fluent Validation anyway. So the validation would be on a T data entry view model. So let's go ahead and add that. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. So manage NuGet packages. Let's add Fluent Validation. Gimme. And to do validation, we're going to go into... Oh, is there a setup that needs to happen? I don't remember. I don't think so. I think we just new up a validation. So let's go with this. Let's add some Fluent Validation by going ignore. No, that's not what I did. I think it's ignore. Oh, but you're not going to be in the model. That needed to be added to the model project. Excuse me. Which one of you is Fluent Validation? This. All right. This needs to go in the model project. Model, which is this one. I think. And in here. Okay. Oops. Save. Of course, this is me trying to remember all of the Fluent Validation stuff off the top of my head. I could have sworn there was an ignore. Maybe not. So this is required. This is required. Required and required. Okay. And I will have a public int target account ID, which is going to be int try parse target account value text out var tade. If that's successful, tade else default, which is going to be a null int. And we're going to do the same for deposit raisins. Deposit raisins. Dread. Okay, so these are just two little helpers for me. They are there so that I can easily get the target account ID and deposit reason ID back from our string combo box drop down stuff. I don't know what this is, but it's a thing, and I did it, and it feels good on my fingers. So we're gonna JSON ignore you because I don't need to serialize these. See, and I'm gonna do pretty much the same thing for the other view models. Line item view model, required, and then we're gonna have a line item type. And these are always lit, as you know. What a nice, comfortable day, huh? At least I hope it is. I did, however, get like, I don't know, what is this, 7 emails in the span of like an hour. Hello, Scott. Pointing out the way that I say data. Data. Let's get the right data. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing for you, where we are going to get our account ID. this will just be aid. 8. And payee. 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 And instead of thread, this would be bid. Itchy ear. Okay. You are required. And you are required. And transaction date is required. I just arrived and ordered a kebab for $16.64. That is an expensive kebab. Which country's currency? Denmark. Did you already convert it to US dollars? Oh, wow. And it still ended up being $16. That is an expensive kebab. I hope it's tasty. I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. I love food. I live in a big city, and that's probably why. Mm. It sounds like how much we pay for Panera. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's worth it. Man, I could smell a good kebab right now. Mm. Makes me salivate. I love food, if you couldn't tell. So I added those. Even though I didn't need Fluent Validation for those, I am going to still use Fluent Validation because I'm most likely going to have some conditional formatting. So like there would be a required if kind of thing. Or I might have to put it in a separate validator class, which I think, let's see if I can remember what that even looks like. This will be deposit entry view model validator, which is an I abstract, of abstract validator of deposit entry view model, I think. And then in the constructor, just like you would do an auto mapper, you know. So I've realized something about myself, and I found out that I can't stand when an instructor or a teacher or someone giving information, so like right now I am giving information, relates something like what we're doing, Fluent Validation, to something else that not everyone has experience with, like AutoMapper. And it's like, what about the people that aren't familiar with the stuff you do with AutoMapper? Could you maybe relate it to something more common? Like when I was doing all of the Azure studying for that, the the last presenter that I watched was comparing everything to AWS, which means you have to have prior knowledge of how AWS works. It's like, why are you giving these analogies to AWS? It's kind of like an AWS S3 bucket or like Elastic Beanstalk, and it's like not everyone knows what that is. Why are you saying that? And then he went off to complain about AWS stuff. It was also kind of crazy. Like, dude. Anyway, and then I think this is done in the constructor. And then this is rule 4. Thank you for reminding me because I would not have remembered this. So this is rule 4. And the rule for this one would be posted date. when, is it when? Maybe it's not rule 4, maybe it's rule if. Rule, I know that there's a when. I just can't remember what the approach is for filling out this rule. So when posted date is not null, it needs to be less than or equal to the transaction date. Greater than, not transaction date, date entered. Oh. Yeah, I'm lucky to have GitHub Copilot. So sometimes it's helpful. But yeah, I think maybe this really is the approach that I wanted to take for this rule specifically. Yeah, so posted date must be greater than or equal to the transaction date. That's what makes sense for this rule. And then maybe we have the with message here, or does the with message still go on this? Okay, get rid of that. Yeah. The posted posted date must be on or after the transaction date. So that kind of thing. So that's the main reason to use Fluent Validation is oh, nope, that's a lie. That's a lie. Is if you have like complex rules that you can't handle with just regular data annotations. And so this Fluent Validator here would allow you to create a new validator. And let's see if I can remember how to do this. I can't remember if you do the same type of setup where you say dependency inject this thing and then you dependency inject an iValidator, or can I just in my actual service, transaction entry service, can I just go var validator? I'll do depth validator so that the names don't collide equals new to this thing. And then var val result equals depth validator dot validate deposit entry view model. If not val result dot result dot is valid, then add validation errors to the response model. And I have a way to do this too. It's a dancing goose. I love it. I want to dance too. Oh, there's more. Look at him go. Thanks, Scott. And then we return resp. So apparently this one has an async version. There you go. I'm gonna have a seizure pretty soon. Or not really a seizure, just a panic attack. So much motion. Async anytime possible. Absolutely. It is recommended at least to do so. Can I tell you why? No. Or wait, I can't really say anytime possible, no. Um, because there are times that it's possible to do an async where the only thing that you do in the method is return await, like whatever the actual thing is. So if the only place that you were doing your asynchronous function, your asynchronous call is in the return, then it's better to just return the task itself and let the calling method await it. Because every time that you call await in an async, don't forget that it sets up a state machine for the most part that says, I'm telling you, go out and do this thing, and then here's the information on how to get back to me when you are done doing what you're doing asynchronously. And so you're building up this chain of, hey, go do this thing. Here's how you get back to me. And then that thing tells something else, hey, go do this thing asynchronously. Here's how you get back to me. And that's the only thing that it does. So instead, let's just say, here's the information the last guy gave me. So go and do what you do asynchronously and then call back to whatever's on that little piece of paper that says where you're supposed to go back to. And so they'll just keep passing that piece of paper around instead of rewriting out a new piece of paper. Hey, look, an analogy that didn't involve knowledge of another complex system. Cancellation token. Don't forget we have a cancellation token. Ah, bigori. Which I guess means that I kind of need to put this try catch inside. Yeah, so if your method returns that, you should remove the await and async unless you're doing other awaits inside of that method body. Yeah. Yeah, like that. Yeah, Blazor state. I still haven't dived into using protected local storage. I mean, I assume that anything local is not going to be protected, even if it claims to be. Yeah, absolutely. Please feel free. I was responding to Scott, who was asking, can I send you the get authentication state async for review? Absolutely, yes. So what I was hoping to do was to create the validator using T data entry view model. And I don't think I can. Okay, so get authentication state async. And this is in a Blazor WASM. Blazor server. Okay, I spent a lot of time trying to make session work. I don't know if it's the right approach. So I've never had to write my own get authentication state because you get that with your dependency injected authentication state provider. But because you have this kind of custom way of getting this, yeah. Yeah, you use your own jot and then you need to save it in state. I could see that. So if we were successful, then get the access token. I'm not seeing a difference between your two branches. Is there more logic that you're waiting to write if the remember me dot value is PLS? Because these two branches look the same to me, but they aren't. Oh, one is local and the other is session. Okay, thank you. Gotcha. No, I like the whole storage being in square brackets. PL storage. So yeah, I mean, if this is pretty much the same way that the other local storage, like Blazor local storage, work, I'll take this off. If this is the same as this, how Blazor local storage works, then yeah, absolutely. This is, this makes sense. Oh, I can hear myself. Oh no. I need to switch that. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for the raid, C# Fritz. We are currently going through and reviewing some custom state authentication state code for one of our very, very awesome, cool viewers. And hello, everyone from C# Fritz's stream. I hope you had a fantastic stream and that things are going well. I can give you some information on what we are going to go back to after we're done reviewing this bit of code. Here is a quick command. Thank you so much for the follows. Really appreciate you guys. Kippers for T and Tiger Pleb. And Broken Sword came in on the raid. Or he's been around, just lurking. Who knows? Welcome in. So let me tell you a little bit about myself if you don't know who I am. I am a .NET software developer who was, until recently, working on my actual job during the day. I was able to stream that, and we had a ton of fun because we started off with an going from a JSP project to an MVC project, and then going from MVC to Blazor, and then we had a couple of VB6. No, I came in because I saw the fat raid. That's okay. We had a whole bunch of VB6 applications that we turned over to VB.NET, and then we went from VB.NET to Blazor, so we got to do a lot of Blazor during our stream. Then I got a new job. And in my new job, I'm not able to stream the work that I do, although the work that I've been doing has been so much fun because I'm still on the cutting edge of Blazor. I am doing a Maui project. There's an existing desktop application that I am reworking the UI for, and I'm using a Maui app to be able to write the UI with Blazor and still deploy to the same target desktop. Yeah, it's so cool. It's so much fun. But what we've been working on during the stream, though, is a financial management application. Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for popping in, Broken Sword. Definitely take as long as you need with your project. Always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure for you to hop in. But anyway, so we are working on a financial management application, and that financial management application we're trying to do with as good of practices as we can. We started off by doing some design, by doing some planning, making sure that we get like all of the blueprinting done. Even though we're not like using any cloud services at the moment, we're not planning for using that. We're still doing kind of like the solo dev version of it. But with all local dev and source control. So this is the project that we are working on. These are the requirements that we came up with that we want to do, and then some of the choices that we made. We also did a little bit of UI design after database and sketching stuff out on a whiteboard. We came up with 3 different look and feels, and I only prototyped like 2 screens. But this middle one was this was the very first one that we came up with. I think maybe we came up with the middle one first. And then I made some color palettes that we might be using throughout the application. And then we ended up settling on this one on the far left, at least for now, with the thought that we're most likely going to change the colors if they don't end up working. And then this is kind of the look and feel of input boxes and buttons and tables. And then this section over here is for displaying account details, or not account details, account summary. This is kind of what the current version of the application looks like. I have it in Microsoft Access, and I use it on a daily basis almost to track my finances. And so I'm like, you know what? It's been 8 years, I think. I may as well finally make it into a web app. And since we have a whole bunch of time to do whatever we want to do on the stream, may as well do the full stack Blazor web development experience with everyone on the stream. So that's why we're doing this. It is completely open source, and the other thing that we're trying to do with it, so I sketched out all of the UI in the app. I haven't really hooked it up to anything yet, but that's what we're working on. But I wanted to try my hand at TDD, which I am not very comfortable with or familiar with or experienced with, none of the above. So we started our trying. Thank you so much for the follow, Mesagui? Mess of GUI, that's what my stuff is. So I needed to learn about mocking stuff, like mocking the database, and we went the route of providing lists as queryable and then using mock to do build mock DB set. So that when we query our DB context, we're just querying a list of values that we injected and then making sure that everything is working. Thank you so much for those follows, Tres Serpico, and they call me Tojo. Do they? That's awesome. I want to be called Tojo. So yeah, so we finished writing this first test, and this first test is for making sure that add deposits adds to the transaction collection in our database, which also means that we make it through the validation phase. But there's only room for one Tojo. Well, yes, absolutely, and that is you. Just because I want to be called Tojo doesn't mean I'm gonna be called Tojo. And Chuck Beasley, thank you. Thank you for the follow. So yeah, so we've been reviewing Sky's code though, because he is using a custom authentication state provider. Oh man, the follows. Thank you again and again, JetBoot Carl. Thank you for being here. Always feel free to ask questions if you have any questions, and I'll try my best to answer you. Thank you, Wraith of Fire. Oh, so many cool people here. So I'm almost always lurking on other people's channels. If any of you have seen me talk, it's rare, but I do talk on occasion. But I was over on C Sharp Fritz's channel with you guys as well, because I love being around productivity and other developers. Yeah, it makes me want to keep coding even more. I like Scott's code. It's so polite. It is polite. And I really love the formatting and I love the cleanliness of the variable names. These are not quite matching the naming conventions, but that's okay. Wait, sorry, this is inside of a method. I thought these were outside of the method. These are. I also would prefer var, but doesn't matter. I really, really like your code, Scott. Okay, so we try getting the remember me from protected local storage if that value is PLS or PSS. So you learn TDD first before learn test in regular way? Is that possible? It's probably a bad idea because trying to pick up way too many things at the same time is pretty hard. I don't know if you could tell this with this counter component here and the counter C# test that this is a B unit project. So the other thing that would be nice to do eventually is some component testing using B unit. And I've used B unit before, and Eagle has actually been in here helping me through some of those B unit tests. So I'm a little bit more familiar with that. But again, I didn't want to overload myself with trying to learn too many things at once. So the main thing that I wanted to learn with this approach is what would be the current steps to I know the B unit creator. I do too. He's so cool. He's so laid back. What would be a common approach for doing TDD? And what that meant for me was I created the models, the service interface, and the server-side implementation of the service without implementing any of the methods yet. And so I would write a test for each of the methods and for each of the things that I want to test in the method, then write the implementation of the method, which is what we're doing right now. And I think that is the correct approach for TDD. But yeah, the other things that I needed to learn were how to mock the database connection and how to mock. There were two things we needed to mock. Oh, dependency injection, right? Yeah. So still a little bit lost on it, but I think we're making a little bit of progress. But yeah, I'm gonna keep trying to figure out. I mean, overall, I am not seeing anything that is sticking out to me. I mean, this is really easy to read code and it does make a lot of sense, Scott. If you give back a new claims principal every time, though, wouldn't that always mean that you're going to have an authorized user? Shouldn't you return null if, or shouldn't your claims principal be null if you don't have an access token? And I guess, is there a reason that you are Okay, so it'll be anonymous still with a new claims identity. Yeah, I just thought that if you provide any kind of claims principal that is not null, then it counts as an authorized. Like if you just use the authorized attribute without policy or without roles, then that would be an authorized user. But I'm not exactly sure why you are needing to do await task from result. You could just return the authentication state at this point. So that would be the only change that I would recommend. Yeah, just return authentication state down here because awaiting task from result will just give you back the authentication state anyway. And in here, it looks like the notify authentication state changed is requiring a task. So yeah, that's why you do have task from result in here. So I agree with this line, and then I have that one change for this one. So yeah, let me know if you have any further questions on that, but I think everything else makes sense. I couldn't tell you if it is 100% correct. For the scenario that you have, which is you're storing the jot yourself in protected storage and the refresh token. You are welcome. Okay, and also thank you, Broken Sword, by the way, for the compliment on this. We talked about this view quite a bit, this version of the UI. So again, I am predominantly well, I guess now, as of my new job, I am predominantly a UI developer. So I take a design and then I implement it in code. What I was doing before was the entire gambit, so full stack development, but I preferred to do middle tier, which is all of the logic that the application uses to connect to the back end. Um, I don't like setting up the back end and I don't like setting up the UI or designing the UI. But because this is our project from scratch, I went ahead and started trying to pick up some skills for design. But anyway, this is called Neumorphic, which means that when you're looking at the page itself, it looks like it almost looks like a vacuum, whatever those things are called, the vacuum press things with the plastic where you put it on top of a thing, and it's just one solid piece of plastic that is three-dimensional. So that's kind of the effect this was going for. I like it, and I think it's cool, but I don't think it's appropriate for the landing page of this app. Maybe it would be cool to have in the rest of the app. So these, actually, let me show the example of what we found. Oh, right, that one's just for helping with making it. Yeah, this picture, for example. So you might be used to it on mobile devices where it kind of mimics the real world thing. So a dial looks like a dial. Hello, Thindle! Konnichiwa! You made it home without crashing, yay! Wait, it took you that long to get home? How long of a trip was it? So Thindle left our stream yesterday around 30 to 40 minutes in, and he's just now saying that he made it home. Just now. Just over 2 hours with a break. So yeah, I'm gonna keep implementing this method. And yeah, again, if any of you do have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy your time here. And if you hang out, just enjoy. There is nothing expected of you ever. Where's my transaction service? There it is. Where's the... Oh, this is the client side implementation. So I guess I can talk through that real quick. One of my architectural choices is because I have multiple application types. I guess I didn't mention that. I have multiple application types using the same UI. Just because when I was working for the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, we didn't know if we would need to switch from Blazor WebAssembly to Blazor Server, depending on whether the data needed to be, solely residing, or the code itself needed to be solely residing on the server. And it never ended up being the case that we needed to, because it's not like protected data or anything. But I still programmed with both Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server in mind. And the way that I did that is I would create a a service interface, which I would do anyway. Awesome. Thank you, Dukasoft. Yes. Yes. So helpful. If you guys don't know Thindle, he is a very, very, very cool developer. He created this extension called Don't Dox Yourself. I'm going to interrupt myself a lot, by the way, which can be used for, let's say I decided to open my user secrets. What? But you guys can't see anything in my user secrets because I have Don't Dox Yourself installed, so it masks the values. And if for some reason the file that you have is invalid, then it just masks the whole file if it doesn't know how to parse it, which is awesome. There are a couple quirks, I guess, that still need to be fixed that I really don't remember what they are, but as long as you do. Awesome. But this is a great extension if you stream or if you present to anyone. So just take a look at it in the store. Don't dox yourself. Awesome. Got some ideas on how to make it faster. Make the buttons pretty. Yeah, they're kind of big and in the way. Because I have edited files without it. And I guess I would give you a feature suggestion. I would want to do it obviously in the repo or wherever you have this. But a feature suggestion would be ignore certain files. Like if I tell it to ignore csproj, like all csproj, or maybe I click on this file specifically and say ignore this file, don't ever try to protect this file. That'd be cool. Like either blanket all csproj, or, and that would be a user, because maybe users don't want to show their csproj files, or on a file by file basis. Cool. Yeah, like a project level ignore, kind of like just to get ignore, where you can do all files star.csproj or only findandman.serveronly.csproj, that kind of thing. So as I was saying though, I have an interface for the service that I want to implement, and a service is just a thing that allows, if it's a front-end application, then it's the thing that allows the front end to make calls to the back end for data, for performing operations, or it is the server-side logic for performing the actual operation, like adding stuff to a database, retrieving stuff from a database, writing files to disk, getting files from disk, generating, processing data, whatever it needs to do. But the thing that I do that seems to be different than some people, but maybe not, maybe it is standard, and the people that I just happen to watch are just weird, is I use the same interface for the service for both the front end and the back end. So my iTransaction Entry service has the client-side implementation that we saw here, and these will mostly be HTTP requests to the API. And then on the server, that's what we're working through, and this is the one that has the DB context injected and does all of the writing to the database, getting from the database, etc. And that way, if I do something like add a Maui application, then this could use the client-side implementation as well. So the Blazor WebAssembly client project uses the client-side implementation, obviously. And then I have a hosted API for that one. So that one uses server, and then the Blazor server would use the server-side implementation, and then the Maui project would use the client-side implementation as well. And then if in the future there's a new project type that comes out that we really, really enjoy as much as we enjoy Blazor WebAssembly and Maui, or like if I just wanted a WPF app to make sure that we're only targeting Windows or something like that, then we could add that project and just point it to the UI and then dependency inject the client side. Cool stuff, you know? I love, love, love coding in .NET. You can do so much with just knowing C#, HTML, and CSS. I love it. It's so cool. And of course, you need to learn a little bit of YAML if you want to do some customization in Maui and WPF. Okay, so this is my, what did we just do? We wrote the validator for the deposit data entry view model. Maybe I do want to go ahead and also add the validation, the list of validation errors to my response model. So I guess another pattern that I like to use is whenever I do a HTTP request or any kind of service request, I like to send back a response model. And that response model will have all of the extra information about whether the operation was successful or not, any error messages that we want to present to the user, any exceptions that are going to be mostly only ever used in debug mode in dev. And then an easy way to find out were there any error messages or exceptions. An easy way to render it to the screen. Yeah, so I think that this one is also a pretty good standard pattern. The same person, so I guess I'll name him Patrick God. I love Patrick God's videos. He has this amazing course on Pluralsight for e-commerce system that he just shows pretty much almost all of the same patterns that I use, that I have already been using. But the main difference is that he really has a separate interface for the client side and a separate interface for the server side. Oh yeah, and here's Scott's version of it. Error messages, exception messages, inner exceptions. So yeah, I guess I could see that. Like if you created your own custom object for exceptions, then you could just get inner exceptions easier that way. I end up just using the exception itself, which is dangerous because there are a lot of cases where you can't serialize the exception because of int pointers or other things that you shouldn't be trying to serialize. But since I'm only ever using the exceptions in debug, then I use this to pass the exceptions around in the server so that I can log it in the right place. And then I clear it out before sending to the client. ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más? Oh yeah, and then we can either write it out to a render fragment that'll get rendered in a Blazor component or as HTML. Either way. So the thing that I would like to do is add the ability to put validation errors from Fluent Validation in here. Oh, I thought that that was the singular and plural. Whoops. This is only the plural. So those are called validation error exceptions. Validation exceptions. Right? And that will be the same as you. Cool. And we'll just add one more to you. Validation exceptions. Right. And then we have to be able to print it out. All right. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, I'll have to figure that one out. I have one already created, but it looks like a single exception can have multiple errors. But I don't think it actually is validation exceptions. I think it's something else. Because the only thing that I care about is what model. How's this? Good question. How is it? I see a lot of green check marks. What am I looking at on this? Oh, those aren't green check marks. Those are just dots. Sorry, I thought they were check marks. I know how to read. All right. I thought they were all resolved. I'm sorry. So toggle button in menu isn't working. Tamil, I don't know what Tamil is, but I mean, obviously, it makes sense that you would want it if it's another format. Styling and attachment of buttons, and remove class cases where file is parsed multiple times even when it isn't changed. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I didn't even notice that this was a thing. Add ignore filter. Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be really cool. And I thought you already had YAML support. And then URLs in JSON makes value parser offset incorrectly. So if you have a large JSON, then it slows it down quite a bit. YAML, TAML, and XAML. Yeah, this is not gonna lie. This is the first time that I'm hearing about TAML. Because I'm out of touch. No, I'm just specialized in the things that I specialize in and touch the things that I touch. What is the set of validation errors? Validation failure. That's what it is. So it's validation failure that I'm looking for, that I want to put in here. Validation failure. Control dot. There we go, which means that you are not going to be message. You are going to be, whoa, formatted message placeholders. We'll go with the error message. And what else do we get with it? attempted value, custom state, error code. Yeah, the property name and all of this stuff would be things that I would want. But we'll come up with a way to visualize it when we need to use it. Cool. And hello, Lobino. Happy Tuesday to you. It is Tuesday, September 20th. In case you aren't aware of the date, and if you're trying to avoid being aware of the date, I'm sorry. I don't mean to blast it out there. Oh, you are just add errors. Add errors. I like overloading method names and letting it pick the actual method based off of the type that we're passing in. Cool. So now we have fully implemented our validation checking on deposit models. And if we pass validation there, yeah, I was really hoping to be able to do like, give me the validation model of T data model. Can I still do that? Can I'm going to try this real quick. We'll put it in extensions here. And we'll do a public static iService collection, add Fluent Validation, so add Fluent Validation, I think, is an actual, come on brain, is an actual method, is an actual extension. When you're using Fluent Validation library? Maybe not. Let's try on server just in case. Okay, it's not. Cool. So I'm going to steal it. And I'm going to say add Fluent Validation, this iService collection, services. And this is going to return, I don't know why I'm doing it this way. I normally use the arrows. This is going to return services dot. And these are all going to be add transient. And when we ask for an I validator, not an abstract validator, where is my validator for deposit entry view model? Are you an I validator by chance? You are an I validator by chance. One-liner line. What? I like one line of code. Tune in next time for our popular segment, one line of code. Okay, so if I dependency inject this, or set these up for dependency injection, I already lost the extensions. The extensions are in shared. So this will be type of, so I want to be able to use the generic is what I'm trying to get at. But I can't. Hello, Goku Jax. But I can. What if, and this is a big what if, oh, but that's not going to work for me. What if we had an abstract transaction view model validator of T. I already forgot what name I use for these. T data entry view model. Abstract class. I am doing fantastic on this Tuesday. How are you doing? Kind gentleman. Abstract validator of that where is a class and implements I transaction view model of T data entry view model. Cannot be used with generic. Do I have? Yeah, I don't have a. That should work. Because I have the iTransaction data entry. Oh, it is just iTransaction data entry model. Ops. My bag. Okay, so this is just a base class. And so if I tell this thing to be a transaction view model validator of T, then that is what we can supply here. Right? Awesome. Thank you so much for the follow, Reg9K. And Goku Jax is doing fine. Just fine. I want you to do better than fine. What did you do today? How is your day only? Why is it that your day is only going fine? Oh, I can Word. Microsoft Word, maybe. But is this really what I want to do? Like, I would love a way to be able to constrain this to just iValidator of iTransaction view model validator. But the goal that I'm trying to do is in my constructor for the transaction entry service, we have a few ways that we can approach this. That's client. Let's go back to server. We can use this thing that I recently learned about called lazy, and we can dependency inject each type that I'm looking for, which is an iValidator of whatever this is. Model validator. Oh, I kind of like this. I kind of like this a lot. And so what this lazy will do for us is it won't actually give us a new model validator until we request it. Which means that we can do var valid result equals await model validator validate a sync data entry view model cancellation token. I didn't call it model validator. I did call it model dot value. Hello, Max. Oh my goodness, all the cool people are here today. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you're having wonderful days. Wonderful times. Scott's just here on business. Yeah, then I can do this once, and now we aren't repeating code anymore. So if val result, which is now called valid result, is not valid, then we don't even need this. Cool. So we have one place to inject the validator, and it'll be of the right t-type, generic. One bat lion. Oh, this is one of my favorite shirts. You'll see me wearing it a lot. Batman. Okay. Run. You also have Batman underwear? I used to. I don't anymore. But you know what? I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Not that you really need to know that, but since you asked. Perform the ad. Okay. So the thing that I wish I'm trying to be too generic. Max says, Umberto, why did you upload on your YouTube old videos? Why do I? I upload them so that if anyone misses them, they could. Well, the original intent was that I would be focused enough on the project that they would kind of be a follow along kind of tutorial project. And I just ended up not editing any of the videos and spending way too much time chatting. My last video was so old you had a big beard. I don't really know what you mean. Like I shaved on Sunday. I shaved on Sunday, which means that Friday's video, which posted yesterday, I would have had a bigger, longer beard. But I post 24 hours after. Oh, you're saying that I looked old. Yeah, so because of Twitch affiliate, you have to wait, or your content is supposed to be exclusive to Twitch for 24 hours. But I do, don't I? That's okay. I know what you meant now. I honestly didn't know before, but I really do. Okay. I'm wondering to myself, is this really the approach that I want to take for this? Is there a way that I could do this in a generic way? And the generic way that I would do it is I would somehow associate a deposit entry view model. Scott says I'm the biggest generic fan. To associate a deposit view model with a database entity type and then add to context dot set of whatever that T entity type is going to be. So like up here, this thing would be transaction entry service of T data entry view model T entity model. Okay, enjoy your time, Max. Thank you for stopping by. Really nice to see you. Can an old lion learn new tricks? Lions can't learn tricks. They obtain skill. What? Scott says, I have one repository and one service, and I can make use of them all the time whenever I want new domain models, right? Yeah, so if I had this be T data entry view model, T entity model, then this would be my deposit data entry view model, and this would be my my deposit entity. I think we called it deposit. Yeah, that's not always going to work, is it? Because there's still special logic that I need to do for some of the transactions. And by the way, the word transaction that I'm using here is intended to mean financial transaction. And I've been trying to come up with a better name, but there really isn't one because it's really what I am. It's really what I am intending it to be, a financial transaction. And so a financial transaction would be something like depositing money into an account, transferring money from one account to another account, or paying money from an account to some other entity. Hello, Arun. So it's kind of it's kind of weird. I ask you this every time apparently, but I was just on an interview call last week. We were conducting an interview, and I was doing the interview with someone named Arun. But anyway, it's going well. I hope you're having a fantastic day also. Yeah, because the other thing that I would need to do if I was going to do this right off the bat is have, this is where AutoMapper would be perfect actually. I would dependency inject an IMapper and I would say now map this model to T entity, and then I would have that mapping right in place. But the real answer is that I would map T model to a transaction, and that's how it decides whether to put a deposit record or other records. So let me show you the entire deposit one, and we can figure out if we can genericify it. Thank you so much, Kawai. Kind of like Mau. Nope, not even like Maui. Kawai. Life. I am not familiar with the phrase. What it is. Number 2 in my list is, oh, sorry, transaction synonyms. Yeah, but this is the financial transaction, so none of these. And records would be even worse. Yeah, none of these are really. Oh man, thank you so much for the follows again. You guys are spoiling me. You're so nice to me. Duelist and Gus. Gus. Yeah, let's just go ahead and do the mapping manually and then find out what's going to be a better idea. Oh, I got a thumb for Gus. Gus has to be one of the best characters from Disney ever. What is the UI in this project? It is broken. So I'm doing it all in Blazor, and I came up with 3 different feels for it. This one is neumorphic design. This is just standard flat design, which is what we've moved into, or maybe we're moving away from again. And then this is the flat design with some coloring applied to it, a top bar maybe. But this is what the main screen looks like. If we can build, I can show it to you really, really quick, but don't expect too much. This is what it translates to in the actual web application. CD apps web. Oh, right. I didn't put these in folders, so we should just be able to go to Blazor Wasm server.nowatch. No, this is for us as a stream. And what I'm hoping to do is get through the first pass while I'm learning TDD and learning design and learning the other parts of the development process that I'm not very practiced on. We get through the first iteration of this, and then as a community, we make it better. So it is in an OSS repo on GitHub. So you could technically go ahead and start doing issues and stuff, but I'd rather wait for that. Yeah, it's right there. It's did you not see Dukasoft's post for the project? It was right there. But yeah. Yes. Yeah. Hijack the engineer. Dukasoft just put the GitHub one directly there. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dukasoft. So this is all mocked up. There are no actual working buttons or anything. I just have a single link to take us to the payment entry mockup. This is mocked up as well, the transaction history table. It's going to get restyled and made to look beautiful. We do have like just very, very basic stuff like adding a line item to a list of line items, calculating the total as we're doing it, but this submit button doesn't do a thing. I mean, it kind of does. I guess it just validated the model up here. Cool. And clicking the add button for a line item without this in here causes an exception, which is sequence contains no matching elements. But that's okay. We aren't super focused on it. We were just trying to put together our implementation of the design. And so that's what it kind of looks like. These tabs do work to switch out which form we are filling in based on the type of transaction we want to enter. And once we do, oh yeah, I guess the other thing that we ended up doing was getting this table down here sortable. So it's a triple click kind of sort where the most recent thing you click on is the thing that it gets sorted by. And then you click it once to sort ascending, second time to sort descending, third time to remove the sort. This context menu that shows up in this placeholder filter button, you can tell it to sort whichever way you want. Filter and clear filter will be implemented later, but we're going to do it all. And we're going to do it all. And we're also going to do it all. So we're turning this deposit entry view model into a transaction. And in all cases, we are going to get a new transaction, which is the database entity. No. Is the controller tightly coupled with the UI? Any scope for rest? So we can go over that real quick as well. I'm going to pull out my trusty whiteboard so that you can see this wonderful, beautiful picture of the architecture. It's the best ever. I really just need to put this in the GitHub repo. Okay, so this is my typical project structure. It's not like updated to match exactly what we have. But here's the UI project. 10 out of 10 would hang on my wall. Here is the single UI project that has all of our components There is actually a potential for a second component library for generic components. So let's say that I had multiple skins. Instead of everything just being laid out like this, I actually have a skin that has completely different content and layout. Then I would have that as a separate component library. But this library uses models from the shared library and interfaces from the shared library for everything that it does. That way, whatever implementation I have for those services will be injected by the application that's running it. So one of the applications that's running it is a Blazor server application, and it has its own implementations of the services. The shared server project uses the models from shared, and it uses the interfaces, the service interfaces from shared. Same thing with the Blazor WebAssembly. The server-side project uses shared server with the server-side implementations. I will show you that, Tiger. We actually spent a day just showing how easy it is to add a Maui application to this setup. This is the reason that I did it this way, is so that in the future, which happened to be last week sometime, and I'll point you to where that was, where we want to add Maui. So maybe we want a mobile version of this app. Use the exact same UI, point the Maui app to the correct one of these, and then still have the API deployed to the server. And so, yeah. The only thing that has an arrow pointing to the database context project, well, two things, I guess, because there's the migration project for when I do my code first changes, but is the shared server project. So this is the only thing that knows how to send data to, get data from the database. And this uses the entities, the models from the database, and that's it. So even my database is split up in a way that you can't do anything database related unless you're on the server. Yeah. All right, so Maui. We ended up adding a Maui project to this, and that Maui project, I think, builds and runs. But the Maui project would be another one of these boxes essentially, but it's only the client itself, and the client would have the dependency only on Blazor UI. And then through Blazor UI, the shared client stuff. Awesome. Thank you so much, Murno Man? Or is it me, Mern? Oh man, like Mern Stack? I'm terrible at this. Anyway, so the only thing that we really had to do when we set up this Maui project, and again, I'll find the video where we did this so that if you feel like looking at it, you can. But the only thing that we did was we pointed main page.xaml, or we referenced the Blazor UI, so just referenced it in the Maui app. Then we pointed, instead of this being the what is it called, main.razor that was in the Maui app, we pointed it to the Blazor UI project's app.razor. And this is a Blazor WebView component that renders all of the Razor components and has that rendering engine in it. Just try not to think of it as another WebAssembly because it's not WebAssembly, which is kind of confusing sometimes. But anyway, we did that. We gutted out the rest of the pages and shared components and anything else in here. We set up the dependency injection stuff to have our state management, to add our builder.services.add client services, which I don't think that I have yet. I think I'm adding them directly in here. No, it's there. Excuse me. Why? Anyway, I have client services that will set up all of our client-side implementations for the services in an easier way. Ampersand, what else was it? Oh, yeah, it's probably because of this. It's because it needs a reference to shared client. Hello, shared client, where are you? There you are. There we go. Okay, so now I would have all of my state classes. I would have my client-side service implementations. Localization would be in here. And I am, when I'm putting content onto a page, by the way, I am using the iString localizer from Microsoft's localization library. I keep losing the UI project. So for example, in my primary data entry page, is not a good place for it. In my fields deposit page, instead of seeing to account, you're going to see localizer to account. Really? I could have sworn that we were making sure to have all of our content be from the localizer already. Maybe we only did it on the home page. And by we, I mean me. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I only did it on the home page, but I will be sure to go back through these and replace all of the content that's showing up on the actual page with the localizer. And we'll use this resources folder with the structure like this. Yeah, I don't even have the folders set up for it. So components, data entry components, and then all of the resx files for it. And then a shared resx file somewhere in here. Which languages will be supported? English. And then any other language that you happen to translate it to. The point is, it'll be set up so that we can add language support. And the reason I know it's going to work is because my work product has localization in it, and it already has all of the translations and stuff like that. So even if this was only going to target English, I'd still set it up with the localizer. Yeah, fun times. Good questions. Thank you so much for the questions. So Hijack is saying, do you have any good book recommendations for software and programming? I will start reading Headfirst Design Patterns today. Is your design based on domain-driven design? I have to confess a thing. I don't necessarily follow any patterns on purpose. I have been doing software development for a long time and haven't read any books on patterns. I have familiarity with some of them. I know what solid means for the most part, the general gist of solid, the general gist of DDD, the RESTful APIs, and all of the good terms that you should know as a good developer. But I essentially have settled on a way that makes the most sense to me, and has been proven to be maintainable after I am no longer the one maintaining the project. I also document everything that I do. So for my previous job, for example, dev.azure.com/armits, I left some documentation on the overall project structure for both the way that it appears on disk in folders and the way that it appears in the solution. And after seeing Patrick God's videos, he's using it. After seeing James Montemagno's videos, he's using the MVVM/service architecture, similar to the way that I do it. So I know that it's pretty typical, the approach that I am taking, even though I couldn't name what particular pattern I'm using. But yeah, it's service-oriented architecture with some elements of DDD, with solid in mind. But it's the one lion method is what it is. Yeah, there are still places that I have a lot of room for improvement, but I'm pretty happy with the overall structure that I use and the approach that I use for classes. Like right now, I'm kind of like floating in the water because I'm trying this new approach and not liking it to the models. So I was thinking of trying to abstract even the models away from the rest of the code. So I have this I transaction data entry view model, and I'm having everything inherit from that. But at the same time, I would have an I payment entry view model and an I transfer entry view model and an I deposit entry view model. That way, this entire library here could be replaced by another library that, as long as we implement all of those. But I'm not liking that at all. So I really think that the models that I provide with the core application are just going to be strongly typed models. And then I'll still just stick to my services and state classes as interfaces. Because it was getting pretty it was getting pretty unwieldy when I was trying to implement this with generics. And then yeah, it got crazy. It got really crazy. Because my services depend on my concrete model types, which this is me again trying to use a generic for all of my services instead of having a deposit transaction service, having a transfer transaction service, having a payment transaction service. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's hard to think through those. Again, great questions though. Thank you so much for them. We're back in the client side implementation. Oh, I can't call it that. So this transaction here is the database transaction that most of you would probably think of when you hear the term transaction. And then this transaction here is the database record for a financial transaction. Really should rename this. Doesn't matter. We can get some stuff from the basic T data entry view model. No, we can't. No, we can't. Because the only thing that T data entry view model is constrained to is an iTransaction data entry view model. Maybe we should just call it dbtrans. Oh, the variable name. Yes, good idea. That'll at least clarify the method itself, but the table name itself is still probably confusing. The only thing that we get for guaranteed from an iTransaction data entry view model is transaction type. One thing that maybe I do want to roll up into here is the top level transaction stuff that's going to appear in every single transaction data entry view model, such as in date time transaction date, date time posted date, and there is an account associated with every single one of them, but it's not always called account ID. What is the lowest common denominator? Although, but that would need a set. I think they all have memo. Payment, memo, transfer. Ooh, I'm missing one. I forgot to put this stuff in transfer. Copy. Basta. So we have a source account and we have a target account. And we should have one other. Look up. Nope, we don't. Just kidding. What? What phone? How long have, I think there's a word missing. This project will get to production. Do you predict it yet from beginning? Oh, I have not sketched that out. I don't have a road plan for how long it's going to take. Since I am also taking it as an opportunity to learn better coding practices like TDD, um, I don't know how long it's going to take for me to catch on to it, but maybe we will be able to come up with an estimate schedule so that we can see that too. Because again, I want to do the full stack development process. And part of a full stack development process, if you're a solo dev at least, is giving your client an estimation, because nobody wants you to just take a project, take as long as you take, and then give it to them after you're done, especially if you're on like whatever the opposite of fixed fee is. Like, they should be more lenient to you if it's a fixed fee project. I estimate soon, TM. But yeah. Anyway, it is generally accepted. Yeah, let's set it for about 10 years out. It is generally accepted that you will be providing some kind of schedule, and that schedule will include the key steps. So I forgot that we kind of did start a Kanban board. Yeah. But we didn't do anything like properly set out the full scope of the project. SM? What is SM? We didn't properly scope out the project, so It's not like we're going to be able to provide an estimate based on scope and then have a change management process for scope creep and all of the other fun things that come with doing a real project for a real client. Um, yeah. It's a better way of typing TM. That is a big TM. Oh man. All good times. Okay, so yes, they all have memo, is what I got out of that. So let's go back to you, put you there. And why am I getting some of these fields pulled up into here? Well, because these are the basic units for a transaction. I really, really do want account ID in here. Problem is, I want to make it get set. But I don't think that's going to be a big problem. So we'll do account ID. Oh, right, right. I don't actually get it for free because it's not an abstract class. A service mark, or service mark, all one word, is a trademark used in the US and several other countries to identify a service rather than a product. And I've never seen it used anywhere. That's a really interesting, though. Irish John Games is here. Hello, Irish John Games. Good times in your house, at your house. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Scott. And thank you so much, Dukasoft. You are so on top of this. You really don't have to do it, but I appreciate you so much for doing it. Scott marked his service mark. I service generics service mark. Yes, we need to put that on all of ours. All right, I'll start adding it to all of mine. Where is my interface? Interface. I look up item service mark. I love this, not a job. Yeah, when it's voluntary, it's probably fun. Gosh, how am I going to implement this account ID though? Because I don't want it to be a full prop, but I do want it to be a full prop. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I would need to make my target account and all of them a full property that gets the account ID to string, which is allowed to be null. It's allowed to be null string. You don't need to. All right, so if string is null or white space, value. Actually, you know what? This is going to be the try parse. We're just going to do account ID equals int.tryparse blah 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 blah. And instead of target account value, it's just going to be value. And get rid of these. Not equals equals, you special kid. Okay. So yeah, I think this is going to work except for the case of transfer, which I'm doing something weird in because in transfer, I want to make sure that the source and target accounts are not the same. And so that's why we have this. But let's see if we can rewrite it as this. Okay, Bindle just said, so I'm in the kitchen dealing with stuff. Like, is your house burning down? Because if it is, I would recommend taking care of that stuff. All right. And then I think we should be able to do this. If target account equals value, yeah, we may as well do it like that. That's fine. Because that'll just grab account ID dot toString and target account equals null. Nah, I'm making food, not exploding like last time. Tugasoft says, don't hurt yourself. But no, there's no frustrating sounds coming from over here. As full stack, how do you rate your skills between front end and back end? In the middle. So I honestly see full stack as a 3-tier development person because of the way that I distinguish back end. So I prefer middle tier logic, which is all of the code that you see in between the UI and the API, as well as between the API and database. And file server and all of that stuff. So, yeah. And it's so weird. I was of the mindset that my front end skills were pretty mediocre, like entry level for the most part. But when I got my new job and my task was to be a UI developer for this project, it was like, okay, type, 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 type. How's this for a prototype? Like the week later. And they're like, what? You already have a prototype for us? Yeah. I have designs. I didn't need to come up with the UI design myself because I'm just a UI developer. But yeah, someone gave me a Figma board with all of the key screens, and I turned that Figma board into an application. And then I'm now plugging in the current existing application's logic into the new UI. So I'm also getting to do that middle tier development where the back end development is the one that is writing the logic itself. What? Thank you for the follow, Pinium. Thindle said, dude, as programmer, they're expecting you to need a sharp stick to do UI. All coders love backend. Yeah, so the thing that you guys are calling backend is writing the services, the server-side service implementations. I still think of backend as more DBA type, more systems type, if you're talking about full stack. But backend in general are the people that are working on the logic from the application to the server and back and forth. But also, backend could be the people that are writing logic in the cloud. Yeah. But middle tier to me is what you might call backend. The storage itself is, I don't know, rear end? No, I think that there's just a different role other than full stack developer, and full stack doesn't concern themselves with let's provision this resource, even though full stack developers do provision resources. Like, let's spin up this cluster. Let's, like, I just keep seeing writing ARM templates and policy files and all of those things as backend. And then middle tier being the one that says, all right, let's write the core functionality of the application that is going to live on those servers and get deployed. Unpopular opinion, DevOps is a lie. And that's what I thought. So once again, if someone else does the UI design for me, the actual process of writing HTML, CSS, and now C# in Blazor is really, really fun, enjoyable, and something that I believe that I do well. So if we had a UI designer that designed all of our key screens for us, our landing page, um, our 3 different deposit pages, our account overview, our transaction details table, and they designed it well, I'd be able to mirror that in a Blazor app super duper easy. So I would have to say that I'm starting to love UI development. I still don't like UI design, but I still prefer to write the core logic for things. But it is still really fun to be able to write like little animations that don't take very much processing and are just a little pop. Like when you hover over a picture and it grows. I could spend all day just hovering over that animation. I love those little joys. Ops doing scripting tasks in Python is like handing a grenade launcher to a toddler. So most devs just go full ham and spend money because it will for sure work with the application. Ops will optimize the application or the provisioned resources and usually set up better scaling. Yeah, and make the right decisions for saying instead of using an entire app service, we're just going to use triggers on a function and call it good, kind of thing. But yeah, I think the only one that I have left is this one to add the account ID to. We'll do one more thing before I quit. So account ID is still going to be a full prop or auto prop. It's not going to be JSON ignored. And account value text is going to be the thing that gives us. No. How far down are you? You. Nope. One more. No, I've lost it. I've lost it. Dang it. Give me this. And pasta. And then we don't need this. Okay, so that should take care of those. The last thing that we're going to do is use this account ID and all of those other fields that we bubbled up to the interface to pre-populate most of the fields for our transaction record or our transaction entity object here. So we're creating a new transaction and pre-populating it with. And since we already have a valid model by this point, we know that we're not going to be missing any required fields. So our transaction date is going to be this dot transaction date. And again, this is a required field, so we know that we're going to have value. our account ID is going to be this account ID dot value. We know it's not going to be null. We're going to have our memo to be this dot memo, which is nullable. And we're going to have our posting date to be this dot posting date, which is nullable. And lastly, our date entered will be datetime.utc now. And so we have the transaction part that's going to be the same for any of these, for all of these. Then we're going to have the deposit record for this one. So in this case, we would do something like new transaction dot deposit equals new deposit with all of the appropriate fields from our deposit view model version of it. For example, the transaction ID, oh, we don't need to pass in the transaction ID. The deposit reason ID is going to be deposit entry view model dot deposit reason. And I think really that's the only field. So this is what I'm afraid of. Our test mocks our context so that when we do context dot transactions, we get back a list of transactions as queryable that we hard-coded in our test setup. And this is going to be await add async. And so there's going to be no way for us to get the right record ID to test against. What are you angry at? Cancellation token. Oh my gosh. But this is essentially our deposit. Our deposit logic for add transaction data. And the test doesn't pass because account ID, because it's not implemented. What? Anyway, we'll find out what's going on. But yeah, so that's it for my time today. Broken Sword came back. I'm going to go to the screen while I round off. Stop saying while I round off chat. Thindle was saying, I mean, I can easily set up a Kubernetes cluster with 500 pods that will handle my application. It will also be hella expensive though. I think my application, if it could be run on Kubernetes, would need like 3 pods at most. And Dukasoft says, my apps are still fine in a simple Docker container. Awesome. And Broken Sword said, hey guys, love to see you all doing well. Love to see you doing well. Hearing that you're busy. I hope you enjoy the busyness of it all. And Thindle said to Broken Sword, you mean the people who can't stop talking, but happy to see you. Oh, love to see the familiars still in here, like Dukasoft and Thindle and others. And then Thindle was like, you mean the people who can't stop talking, but happy to see you too. Broken Sword said, I've just been so busy, but I plan on catching up soon. Guys, rejoining daily. Awesome. We would love to have you around when you come around. And then Broken Sword said, have a good day. I will do my best to have a good day. I'm going to continue learning stuff that I choose to learn, and not because I'm trying to get a certification, but because it's stuff that I want to learn finally. So I think I may go ahead and set up a raid to Bardaki. Just because. I don't have any reason. It's because I felt like it. So I've been hanging out on his stream. I'll be lurking on his stream for the rest of the time, and then he's most likely gonna raid Irish John Games when he goes live in about an hour and a half. So anyway, that's where I'll be for the rest of the day. I hope you guys enjoy your time, and I'll be back again tomorrow, normal time. Friday might be a different time because I just saw that I had a meeting invite that might overlap that time. So it might just be pushed back 30 minutes, but it won't be too much. I'll let you know as soon as I find out more. Okay, until next time, I post my videos on the YouTubes 24 hours after stream, unedited. So kind of don't expect too much. And what else was there? Join our Discord. Thank you, Dukasoft, for the Discord link. Feel free to ask questions there. Noobs welcome. Pros welcome. Rockstars welcome. Everyone is welcome. Okay, that's it for me. Ciao for now. See you on the flip side later.